This exercise is going to strictly work on listening to the fourths and fifths so we can try and distinguish them. In order to do this, I'm going to use two very well-known songs that will help you hear the difference. Let's start with the fourth. I'm going to play it melodic so you can hear it easier. Now, if you don't have any frame of reference, this will just sound like two random notes, but there is a relationship between these two notes that will distinguish it as a fourth. Have you ever heard the song Here Comes the Bride? I'm sure you could even sing it in your head, but just in case you don't recall it, I'll play it for you. Did you see that? The first interval between Here Comes is a fourth, just like when I played the fourth earlier. Now it may no longer sound like just a random sound or a random interval, but rather there's a song attached to it. So anytime you hear Here Comes the Bride, you'll hear the fourth. Your mind will complete the rest of the song on your own, and that's how you can tell it's a fourth. I'll use a different note as another example. I'm sure your mind started thinking, the bride, here comes the bride. It can also be very helpful if you sing the interval. You can sing the words of the song or just use da da like this. Da da. Don't worry about your voice, just focus on matching the pitch. That's the only important thing with this. There's your fourth. So anytime you hear, you know that's a fourth. Now, when I play it harmonically, it's not as easy to distinguish. You can slightly hear some similarities, but it's much easier to hear it melodically. You will start to hear it harmonically much better as time goes on, but for now, just focus on getting the melodic, and if you can get the harmonic now, that's great as well. Okay, so that's an easy trick for the fourth. How about the fifth? Well, for the fifth, you can use the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which goes like this. There's your fifth. So anytime you hear, you can sing Little Star, Twinkle Twinkle. That's a fifth. Anytime you start hearing Twinkle Twinkle, that's a fifth. So here's Here Comes the Bride. Sounds like a fourth. Twinkle Twinkle. The fifth is not as easy to hear because you have to repeat the first note, but you can still hear it. Once again, just like with the fourth, it is easier to hear the fifth melodically. But for some people, it may be easier to hear it harmonically. The best way to tell the difference between a fourth and a fifth harmonically is just playing them one after the next. Fourth, fifth. Fourth, fifth. So you'll start to be able to hear the difference, just like you were able to hear the difference between a second. See, you hear that cluster probably much better now. The third, a little more open. The fourth, which harmonically at first. And there's Here Comes the Bride. And then your fifth. So you can see all of these intervals have a different sound associated with it. So let's do an exercise now for just the fourths and the fifths. I will just play it melodically so you'll be able to hear the difference. So if you hear it, Here Comes the Bride, then it's a fourth. If you hear Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, then it's a fifth. Here we go. That's a fourth. That's a fifth. Fourth, Here Comes the Bride. That's also a fourth. And that's your fifth. Now to challenge you, I will only play them harmonically. I'll play it again. Now I'll play it melodically. That's your fourth. That's a fifth. Here it is melodically. This would have been the fourth. You can hear the fifth is a wider sound. It's more open. There's so many words you can use to describe it, but you'll start to figure out your own. Let's do one more. I'll play it again. That's a fifth. Let's listen to it harmonically again, and then I will play the fourth right after. There's the fifth. This would have been the fourth. Now I'll just play them each melodically. Here's your fifth. Twinkle, twinkle. Here's your fourth. Here Comes the Bride. Great job. This is no easy task to do. Once again, don't expect to have this mastered by any means yet. At this stage, even if you can even remotely hear a difference between the two intervals, you're doing great. We will do so much more of this throughout the course, but for now, you can work on this on your own just like we did, and just get used to playing the intervals and just listening and just becoming more aware that there is a difference in the way they sound. This is how you will get to learn how to play by ear. Is when you can really start to hear intervals, you can start to pick them out in songs and then figure out which notes they're associated with. But we will do so many more exercises for this, so for now, just have fun with it and do what you can.